everyone, this is Sally with the Polka Dot Life. I have alternatives for your August paper pumpkin box, the Box of Hope. Don't forget that right now is a wonderful time to buy those prepaid paper pumpkin codes because then you earn celebration rewards and host rewards. So if you are planning on prepaying for 6 months or a year, this is a great option for you. Now let's flip the camera down and get started on today's project. My paper pumpkin kit was unusually late to arrive this month, so I apologize. And then my grandbaby came to visit for the very first time ever, and so things just got pushed out a little bit. So I apologize for that. But I do have some alternatives for you that I hope that you enjoy. First off, I took this little flower stamp and I stamped the envelope and I did 2 small strips. Now the measurements will all be on my blog. I stamped those in Memento black ink and I left those sit for a good long while. The humidity here in Alabama has been really high. I usually don't have a problem with things running or smearing, but I just felt that I needed to let things sit for a little bit before I used my alcohol markers, my Stampin' blends. The colors I used were light Mellow Mambo, dark Pool Party, dark So Saffron, light Bermuda Bay, and dark Bermuda Bay. And then I just colored them as so. You could color them however you wish. And with this card we're doing together today, with the exception of the dark and light Bermuda Bay, you could substitute in any color that you would like to use on your card. But we'll be using an element from the kit that's that color, so that's why I wanted to make sure that I included it. I'm bringing in a piece of basic white cardstock, the normal 4x5 1/4 size. And we're going to do a little blending. I am really hoping to get the new blending brushes with my next order. I'm excited about that. Let's bring in some acrylic blocks. We have ink pads in Melon Mambo, Pool Party, and So Saffron. And I believe that I would like to start with my So Saffron first. It is kind of my medium. I'm kind of doing a medium, light, and my more intense color last. Although the So Saffron and the Pool Party could go either way. I'm going to use the larger of my brushes, and I'm just going to blend this So Saffron in on my block. I am going to do a little swirl on my paper. And then I am going to start, and I'm going to kind of come over along this edge and kind of do like a, I don't know, maybe sort of like a triangle, if you will. And I may have to load this block up again. And it all depends on how intense you would like your color to be. I would like mine a little bit darker. And since this is a larger brush, it just takes a little longer to load. And I'm going to come down a little ways. Like I say, not quite the whole way across, but pretty close. Just really am enjoying this yellow, this So Saffron. So I am going over it just that last time. And let's bring in our Pool Party. I want to use my next largest brush for my Pool Party. So I'm going to get that all nice and blended up into my brush, into my scrap paper. And you know, I can kind of already just know that I'm going to need to do this again. So we're just going to do this from the get-go. Of course, you just want to keep an eye on your fingertips to make sure you haven't picked up anything on your fingers. And we're just going to start. And I'm going to blend up into that corner a little bit and on over. And I'm going to want to go up into that yellow so that there's not a real stark difference, so that it is actually blended one right into the other. And so you see, I'm just going to go up into that, and I'm even going to come down beyond where I want that as well. And it kind of gives you that, like the artistic ink look. It kind of gives you that alcohol ink look almost. Of course, you could actually use that technique to build this background. If you don't have blending brushes, you could do that. You could use a sponge dauber. You could even cut a little bit of a sponge and take it over this. You just want to use what you have. I'm going to take this directly into there for this one, just because I want to get some good pool party color going on here. Okay, and then last but not least, let's pull our Melon Mambo in. I think just by default, this stamp set, I don't want to ever limit somebody's choices. I think I've got some yellow on there. We're going to just flip that over, and we'll use the Melon Mambo. But I don't want to ever limit someone's choices. But I am going to say, with this kit, it's probably more geared toward a female. But that doesn't mean that you couldn't make a masculine card with it. You just, you know, do the colors that whoever you're going to send this to will enjoy. That's the best thing, is we can make our cards geared to who we are going to send them to. We're going to go up into that pool party a little bit and just kind of, now you see, you don't have to do as much with this one just because it is a more intense color. And I even want this bottom corner to be kind of intense, just to be more of that bright hue right here along the bottom. Super fun. I am going to leave this ink pad out for a minute because we are going to use it for a quick second. We have another one of these small strips. Those three are all cut the same. And you know, I love the greetings in this stamp set from Paper Pumpkin. But I'll be honest, I mean, it's great to have those sentiments for those cards that are difficult when you need to have them. We want to have those greetings in our toolbox, but we're probably not going to need them all that often. So on this one, I did pull in the Happy Birthday from the Peaceful Moments stamp set. And I don't want to put my head in camera here too bad. Okay, that's not so bad. If it's bad, whenever I go to put it on the card, we will just flip it on over and stamp it again. I pulled these tags out from the kit because I did like how the kit was put together. So I wanted to pull some of the extra pieces out that we would not be using. So I knew we would be using the Hope. And then I took the other two, the French and I believe it's German, out. And that's what we're using. So we may have to cut for this one a little tiny bit longer than the other ones, but I think it's good. But where there are these little tabbies, I don't like those sticking out. And so just take an emery board, and if something needs filed off, you just do it really gently. You don't want to like tear your paper, but you can get them to where they're not looking like they are a punch out. I need to layer up my card. I have a piece of Pool Party here. I have my liquid adhesive here, and I am just going to run a little bit. You could probably take one over the little pass over the center. And we're just going to line this up. It's a very narrow border. It's just a little bit larger. It's like 1/8 of an inch border. And this actually is so bright, a little bit brighter than what I thought. And you can use your judgment whether you want to adhere yours down directly to your card. You could pop this layer up with dimensionals. You could wait and do it until you have everything else adhered to your card. But I think I want to go ahead. I don't normally adhere my larger pieces down until they're done. But I think I want to have things down so that I can just take a good look at them for placement of my other objects. And this is a kind of more of a beginner type card. I guess maybe it's kind of in the middle, but I certainly don't think it's boring. You could space these all apart like that. I kind of like mine more towards this side and a little tighter together. Like that. So we're going to start with this first one. And it doesn't matter if you get it on upside down or not, we are going to cover up that writing. Nothing needs to be exact. You can see it's just kind of that illusion of color coming across there. Now you do want to keep this straight. So you may have to do a little, straightening around. Let me have this last one. Again, you'd want this opening to be about the same width as that one. And you just kind of want to take a scan. And it's hard because they're rounded as well as pointed. There we go. You could use dimensionals. I chose not to because I want to cover up this word. And there's just not a lot of extra room with this longer one. The French greeting isn't quite as long. And we're just gonna lay that on there. And we're just gonna kind of take notice of where we fall. We know that T here has to be covered up, but we want things to be as straight as they can be. Cute. And then this one, I colored it the same, but we're gonna put it on in the reverse. And again, nothing is super exact. If you feel that maybe you slid a greeting over too far or something of that sort, you could always add gems or whatever to straighten that or offset it. And then we have our happy birthday. That is also going to cover up one of those tags. But I thought those are super nice tags, and I hated to waste them. And unless you have a lot of bilingual friends or friends abroad, you probably don't need those. So that was my thought process. I have a scrap of Pool Party. Now you'll see on my other card, my scrap was longer. This one is shorter. Use what you have. I use the textile embossing folder. You could use whatever your favorite is. I'm going to turn mine this way just to kind of give me a little better odds at straightening up. But I've just put that down here just to kind of give it another little element. I think I actually do like the longer one better, but this gives you a different option as well. So we have our card today, and then we have the one that I started with, and I used a darker palette of cardstock and inks. I used some Blackberry Bliss, used some different colors, and again, I like this longer piece, but this is what I had in my stash. So that is what we went with, and I like that just as well. Now, I did color with my alcohol blend some of our basic rhinestones, and I put those in the center of that flower. You could do whatever you wanted to do to decorate your card. This card, I decorated the flap and the front of it, and this one I popped this layer up. There's dimensionals here between the bumblebee and this melon mambo layer. I stamped on my basic white in my Bermuda Bay. I also stamped this sentiment again in bumblebee and melon mambo on separate pieces of white, and then I just cut these two out and glued them over. And then I just did some layers inside, and I love that little speckle stamp. I think that's really fun. I took my Stampin' Right markers because our ink pads match our cardstock, matches our markers, matches our embellishments, our ribbons, all of those things, and that's why I love Stampin' Up. I cannot go to a local craft store and get that instant coordination. So I blended, don't know what's on there. I blended a little bit of Pool Party or some light of Bermuda Bay, and then I just stamped our butterflies on that area. Now this one I had a little bit of fun with. You have to be okay with a little bit of mess. I took a basic white layer. I stamped 5 butterflies in Highland Heather. I then stamped another one on a separate piece of basic white in the Highland Heather, and I cut it out by hand, just fussy cut it. I took a blending brush and took some of, this is polished pink, and went around here, and then I used my, I'm not sure if that's Daffodil Delight. No, I think this is Bumblebee. I used my Bumblebee, and I used that splatter stamp, and I put those little splatters everywhere. I stamped our greeting and fussy cut it out of a different piece of basic white. Then I have a clipboard that I use for messy things, and I just propped it up and put my cardstock up against it. Then I took our Stampin' Right markers, not the alcohol ones, because I don't want to mess up the nibs of those, but I just took the regular Stampin' Right markers, and then let's see here, I have a different color here, but I just put this in here like this and just flicked that, and it flew up against this white cardstock and made some speckling. And I did that with a few different colors. I think it was Granny Apple Green and the polished pink, and I think I did some additional in the Bumblebee, and it just really kind of brought it all together. Then I took this piece of basic white cardstock and I embossed it. This one I used the ornate flower, and then I used dimensionals and popped up this butterfly, and then I just glued this greeting straight across there and just decorated the inside of that. And so I thought that just turned out cute and fun. I liked those colors. I just like the happy feeling, and just it was just a little bit different of a design for me. Different examples of some alternative projects that you can take these used elements from the kits. These do not. Remember that we own our stamps from our paper pumpkin kits forever, and we can always come back to them and pull out just exactly what we need, which is great about these harder verses that we don't often have. Just kind of make a mental note that those are in your paper pumpkin stash to use anytime that you need to. As always, remember to be kind, send a card, and do something creative. Bye-bye.